Imagine a quiet morning before the city is fully awake. A small pot sits on the stove. Water moves gently. Milk rises in soft clouds. Tea leaves darken the liquid, and then spices begin to open in the heat. There is ginger, warm and sharp. There is cardamom, sweet and bright. There may be cinnamon, clove, or black pepper too. The room fills with a smell that feels older than the morning itself. It feels like comfort. It feels like home. But how did this drink become so close to daily life for so many people? Why do people call it comfort in a cup? Why do simple tea, milk, and spices carry such deep feeling? How did masala chai travel from old healing traditions to busy train stations, family kitchens, roadside stalls, and modern cafes around the world? And why did it stay? In this story, we will learn English through the real journey of masala chai. We will use simple, clear language. And while we listen, we will follow a drink made from warmth, tradition, survival, and hope. Today, many people think of masala chai as a normal part of life. It may begin the day. It may welcome a guest. It may rest between 2 long hours of work. It may appear during rain, in winter, or in moments when someone simply needs a little kindness. That is part of its power. It is ordinary, but it does not feel small. The words themselves tell us something important. Masala means a mix of spices. Chai means tea, so masala chai is spiced tea. The name sounds simple, and the drink often looks simple too. But the story behind it is not small at all. It is layered, like the drink itself. Long before tea became central to this drink, the lands of South Asia already had deep knowledge of spices and plants. People used ginger, pepper, cinnamon, and many other ingredients in cooking, but they also used them in daily care. Some traditions in India, especially in systems like Ayurveda, connected food, herbs, and balance in the body. Ayurveda is an old health tradition. In simple words, it teaches that daily life, food, and nature affect how we feel. Because of this older world of spice knowledge, people did not see spices only as flavor. Spices could warm the body. They could support digestion. They could help in cold weather or after heavy food. They could bring energy or comfort. So even before masala chai became what we know today, the idea behind it was already alive. A drink could do more than taste good. It could care for you. Some accounts suggest that early spice drinks existed long before black tea was common in the region. These drinks may not have looked like modern chai. Some may not have used tea leaves at all. Instead, they may have been hot mixtures of water and spices, sometimes prepared for health, balance, or daily strength. The story is complex, and we do not have direct details for every cup from the distant past. But many historians note that the spice heart of chai came first. That matters. Why? Because it means masala chai did not begin as only a tea trend. It grew from older habits of healing, hospitality, and shared life. The drink later changed, but its emotional center stayed warm. Now listen to this phrase. A drink with deep roots. Say it with me. A drink with deep roots. It is a simple phrase, but it fits this story very well. Tea itself has a different journey. Tea plants grew in parts of Asia, and tea drinking has long histories in different regions. But for a long time, the tea that later shaped modern chai did not yet hold the same place in everyday Indian life that it would one day have. That big change came later, and it came through power, trade, and empire. This is our first major turning point. When the British expanded colonial control in India, tea became more than a drink. It became business. It became land, labor, shipping, and profit. The British wanted strong tea production inside India. Because of that, large tea plantations grew, especially in places where climate and land supported the crop. Tea was not only about taste now. It was tied to systems of control and money. At first, much of this tea was meant for sale beyond India. It was part of a large trade world. But over time, there was a push to grow tea drinking inside India too. If more local people drank tea, the market would grow. So tea moved closer to daily public life. Yet this was not a simple story of one group giving a drink to another. People do not just accept a product and keep it unchanged. They adapt it. They reshape it. They bring it into the language of their own lives. This is where the story becomes especially human. In many places, plain tea was not enough. People added what already belonged to their homes and memories. Milk made it richer. Sugar made it softer and more inviting. Spices gave it warmth, depth, and identity. Ginger woke it up. cardamom lifted the smell. Other spices joined depending on place, family, season, and need. This is how an imported commercial product met older local wisdom and daily taste. This is how tea was not simply accepted. It was transformed. And that is our bridge moment. Old customs were not erased. They were adapted and given new meaning. The older love of spice, warmth, and healing did not disappear when tea became more common. Instead, it wrapped around tea and changed it into something more local, more personal, and more alive. That is why masala chai feels both historical and intimate. It carries change, but it also carries continuity. Why do bridge moments matter in history? Because they show us that people are not passive. They do not only receive culture. They answer it, they shape it. They make room for survival and tradition at the same time. As tea spread, the drink also became social. A cup could slow down a morning. It could open a conversation. It could help someone begin work before sunrise. It could create a pause in the day. In homes, tea could become part of care. In public places, it could become part of connection. And little by little, masala chai moved closer to what many people now know. Not only a beverage but a habit of warmth. Think about that word, habit. Some habits feel empty, but others hold memory. When someone boils spices in milk and tea, they are not only making a drink. They may be repeating a sound heard in childhood. They may be continuing a family rhythm. They may be making space for gratitude in a rushed day. How does a daily habit become tradition? It happens slowly. One home does it, then another. One generation teaches the next without giving a speech. Someone watches. Someone smells the ginger and cardamom. Someone learns when to add the milk, how long to boil. When the spice is enough, the lesson enters through the senses. Repeat after me. Tradition lives in small acts. Again, tradition lives in small acts. In time, masala chai grew not only because of flavor, but because it fit life. It was flexible. It could be strong or soft, sweet or less sweet, rich with milk or lighter, heavy with ginger in cold weather, or fragrant with cardamom when guests arrived. It could meet the hour, it could meet the mood. That flexibility helped it survive. And survival is one of the great quiet themes in food history. A thing lasts when it can bend without breaking. Masala chai did that beautifully. So by the time the drink settled more deeply into homes and streets, it already carried several worlds inside one cup. Old spice knowledge, colonial change, local adaptation, daily need, and human creativity. That is why its story feels so full, and we are only at the beginning. As masala chai moved deeper into everyday life, it began to belong not only to history, but to rhythm. Morning rhythm, work rhythm, travel rhythm, family rhythm. A cup was no longer just something people drank. It became part of when they drank, where they paused, and how they met one another. In that way, chai became part of time itself. Imagine a railway platform noisy and full of motion. People wait with bags, children, worry, excitement, sleep in their eyes. Then comes a familiar sound from a cellar moving through the crowd. Hot tea is ready. Cups pass from hand to hand. For a few moments, the station is still full of movement, but there is also a small island of warmth. This is one of the places where chai became more than home comfort. It became public comfort. Roadside tea sellers, often called chaiwalas, played a huge role in this story. Their work helped carry chai into streets, markets, stations, and workspaces. A chaiwala is simply a tea seller. But in daily life, the role can mean much more. The chai stall may be tiny. The tools may be basic. Yet that small place can become a center of human exchange. Why would such a simple stall matter so much? Because people do not come only for liquid. They come for a break, for conversation, for energy, for routine, for a moment of belonging. A chai stall can hold workers before sunrise, students between classes, drivers on long roads, friends with gossip, strangers sharing weather, and neighbors discussing life. In a fast world, chai creates a small pause. This is our second turning point. Masala chai moved from household warmth into shared public culture. That change made the drink stronger, not weaker. In the home, chai carried care, family, and tradition. In public, it added community movement and access. It became a drink for many kinds of people, in many kinds of places. Rich or poor, tired or hopeful, alone or with others, many could reach for the same comfort. Because chai could be made with familiar ingredients and adjusted to local taste, it spread widely. But it did not become exactly the same everywhere. That is part of its beauty. In one region, ginger may stand at the center. In another, cardamom may lead. Some families love strong black tea. Others want more milk. Some boil the spices longer for depth. Others keep the flavor lighter and cleaner. So what is the real masala chai? That question sounds simple, but the answer is human. The real chai is often the one that lives honestly in people's homes and habits. Tradition is not always one fixed recipe. Sometimes tradition is a pattern of care, repeated in different forms. Listen to this phrase, there is no single cup. Say it with me. There is no single cup. This does not mean anything can be called masala chai without thought. The drink still has a clear identity. Tea, spice, warmth, and usually milk and sweetness. But within that frame, people have room to shape it. That is how tradition stays alive. If it becomes too frozen, it can become a museum piece. If it adapts with care, it remains part of life. In many homes, chai is also an act of welcome. A guest arrives. Someone asks, "Will you have tea?" This question can mean much more than the words show. It can mean, "Please rest." It can mean, "You are safe here." It can mean, "Stay a little longer." It can even mean, "We may not have much, but we can share warmth." That is why chai often stands close to kindness. Not grand kindness with big speeches. Quiet kindness, everyday kindness. The kind that appears in kitchens, porches, shops, offices, and doorways. The kind that says home is something we can make for one another, even for a few minutes. Of course, the story is not only soft and gentle. Modern life brought new pressures too. Cities grew faster, work changed, travel changed, time became tight. People had less patience for slow preparation in some settings. Commercial tea companies expanded. Packaged versions appeared. Quick mixes appeared. Cafes changed presentation. Global food culture made old drinks newly fashionable. Would this new speed erase tradition? For a while, that may have seemed possible. When a drink enters mass markets, it can lose depth. It can become only a trend, a label, or a sweet version made to sell quickly. Some people worried that chai would be flattened into something shallow. But here is another reason the drink survived. Its roots were too deep. Even when chai entered modern brands and global cafes, many people still knew its older feeling. They knew the smell of real ginger crushed by hand. They knew the sound of boiling milk. They knew the patience of waiting for spice to open. So modern life changed chai, yes, but it did not fully empty it. This is how survival works in food culture. A tradition may move through commerce, speed, and fashion. Some of its forms become thin. But if its emotional truth is strong enough, people keep returning to the deeper version. They remember. They remake. They teach again. Some sources describe this as the strength of domestic memory. Domestic means connected to the home. In simple words, it means that what people learn in family life can protect a tradition, even when the outside world changes quickly. And chai carries more than memory. It also carries body knowledge. People know what kind of chai they want when the day is cold. They know what helps after rain. They know what they need when they feel tired, low, or heavy. Strong ginger chai can feel like action. Cardamom chai can feel like calm. Sweet milky chai can feel like rest. How can one drink hold so many moods? Because the drink is simple enough to change, but steady enough to remain itself. This balance helped chai move across borders too. As South Asian communities traveled and settled in other parts of the world, chai traveled with them. It entered new homes. It appeared in restaurants. It reached curious neighbors. It crossed oceans, but it kept the smell of home. For migrants, food and drink often become bridges. A bridge can connect one life to another. It can connect memory to the present. Masala chai could do that. A kitchen far from home could still carry familiar steam, familiar spice, familiar hope. The world outside might feel new or difficult, but the cup in the hand could say, "You still belong to yourself. Repeat after me. Warmth can travel." Again, warmth can travel. Over time, global interest in chai grew. In some places, cafes offered chai tea, a phrase that repeats the word tea twice, because chai already means tea. This shows how culture changes in travel. Sometimes it becomes clearer for outsiders. Sometimes it becomes confused. Sometimes it becomes a stylish product with extra sugar, foam, or flavors far from older versions. Many people enjoy these newer forms, and that is part of the story too. Cultures meet and mix. But many also gently remind the world that masala chai has a longer life than a cafe menu. It is not only a seasonal drink. It is not only a sweet lat. It is a tradition shaped by history, labor, adaptation, hospitality, and care. And maybe that is why the drink still feels alive. It can enter the modern world without fully giving itself away. It can be sold renamed, simplified, and photographed. But somewhere in a kitchen or a roadside stall, someone still makes it the older way, watching the boil, smelling the spice, and serving it with steady hands. That hand-to-hand life matters. History often remembers rulers, trade, and empire. But daily life is also built by sellers, parents, workers, grandparents, neighbors, and guests. Chai became powerful not only because history pushed it forward, but because ordinary people carried it. They kept choosing it. They kept sharing it. They kept making room for it in busy days. So masala chai remained what the best traditions often become. Something shaped by change, but still full of human warmth. Now, when we think of masala chai, we can see more clearly why it became a symbol of comfort. Comfort is not only about taste. It is also about memory, rhythm, and trust. You know what will happen when the pot begins to boil. The air will change. The spice will rise. The color will deepen. For a few minutes, the world may still be hard, loud, or uncertain. But inside that moment there is order, there is care, there is hope. This is one reason chai speaks to so many people today. Modern life often asks us to move too fast. We rush, scroll, answer, travel, plan, and worry. But chai asks for a little attention. Even when it is made quickly, it still feels different from something cold taken from a machine. It asks us to notice smell, heat, waiting, and the hand that serves. Why does that matter so much? Because humans do not live by speed alone. We need small rituals. A ritual is a repeated act with meaning. In simple words, it is something we do again and again because it helps life feel held together. Masala chai became one of those rituals for many people. Some drink it alone in the early morning before anyone else wakes. Some share it with parents or partners. Some take it at work with coworkers. Some make it for guests without even thinking too much, because the act has become natural. Some learn it from family. Some learn it later in life, and still feel that it gives a kind of home. That word home is important here. Home is not only a building. Sometimes home is a smell. Sometimes it is a cup. Sometimes it is the feeling that, for a moment, you do not need to explain yourself. Chai can carry that feeling. For that reason, masala chai is also linked to gratitude. Gratitude does not always arrive in large emotional speeches. Sometimes it appears quietly. In a hand offering tea, in a pause after a long day, in steam rising during rain, in the first sip that tells your body, you can rest now. That kind of gratitude is humble, but deep. Listen to this phrase, a small cup, a deep feeling. Say it with me. A small cup, a deep feeling. Of course, no tradition stays untouched forever. Today, people continue to experiment. Some use less sugar. Some use plant milk. Some add new spices. Some make iced versions in hot weather. Some sell chai in modern cafes with polished design and global branding. Some return to older methods and speak proudly about family recipes. The story is still moving. Does change always harm tradition? Not always. The story of chai teaches us that change can also be a path of survival. Earlier, tea entered a world of old spice knowledge and was transformed. Later, chai entered public street culture and grew stronger. Then it crossed borders and found new voices. So change itself is not the enemy. The real question is this: does the change keep the heart of the tradition alive? When the answer is yes, tradition can breathe. It can welcome new people while still honoring old hands. It can remain generous. That is one of the most beautiful things about masala chai. It does not demand a perfect museum past. It asks for living warmth. Many historians note that food and drink often tell us truths that formal history misses. A government record may tell us about trade. A business report may tell us about markets. But a daily cup tells us how people actually lived. It tells us what they valued, what they shared, what helped them continue. In that way, chai is a document of feeling as much as a drink. It speaks of survival too. Not dramatic survival alone, but everyday survival. The survival of energy through long work. The survival of custom through social change. The survival of kindness in crowded cities. The survival of memory across distance and time. These forms of survival may look quiet, but they shape real lives. And there is one more reason the drink remains powerful. It holds balance. It is old but not frozen. It is common but not empty. It is comforting but not weak. It is social, but also personal. It belongs to tradition, yet it can travel into modern life. Few daily things hold all of that at once. Repeat after me: old, but alive again, old, but alive. So the next time you see masala chai, or smell ginger and cardamom rising from a warm pot, you may hear more than a kitchen sound. You may hear the echo of old spice traditions. You may feel the long shadow of empire and trade. You may notice the creativity of people who adapted what came to them and made it their own. You may remember roadside stalls, morning conversations, guests at the door, trains, rain, family, and hope. And maybe you will also hear a simple question inside the steam. What makes a drink last? Is it taste alone? Is it habit? Is it memory? Or is it the way a cup can carry light into an ordinary day? The answer may be all of these things together. Masala chai stayed because it could meet people where they were. It could warm the tired. It could welcome the guest. It could mark a pause in hard work. It could connect old and new. It could turn trade into tradition and routine into comfort. That is not a small achievement. That is a deep human one. In the end, masala chai is not only about tea leaves or spices. It is about what people do with them. They boil them together. They wait, they share. They offer, they remember. They continue. This is how a drink becomes part of life. This is how flavor becomes feeling. This is how tradition lives. And perhaps that is why this story feels so gentle, even when history behind it is large and complex. At the center of the story is not power. It is a cup in someone's hand. A cup of warmth. A cup of kindness. A cup that says home can be made again and again, even in a changing world. So let the steam rise slowly. Let the spices open. Let the day soften for a moment. And in that quiet space, you may understand why masala chai became more than a drink. It became a daily act of hope.